Hi everyone, we are live here on Instagram. At the same time, we're recording for YouTube. And welcome, and I hope you had a nice weekend. Good. So the question that I received that I want to start with is the question, if the American consulting expectation of nice hotels and restaurants is true in Germany. And this refers to a video that I uploaded on YouTube once. It's called the glamorous consulting lifestyle. And there I talked a little bit about, the lifestyle that you have as a management consultant. And the key message of this video, and this is what I want to repeat here, is that yes, there is a kind of fancy lifestyle in management consulting, but the very important thing to understand is that the company offers those services like, high-class traveling, like very good restaurants, like good hotels, but there's only one reason for that. And the reason is that this keeps the team more productive. Okay, so yes, it's true, especially in strategy consulting. So if you work for MBA, for example, then it's very typical that you fly business, for example. Also that you sleep in like fancy hotels, or usually like, the typical consulting hotels like Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, stuff like that. And yes, it's also true that you go very often to fancy restaurants because you have team events. But the reason for that is that this keeps you more productive, because if you fly business, obviously you spend less time in the security because you go through the priority lane. Also, you spend less time onboarding because you're the first one who does the onboarding. Also, you have those business class front row seats. You are more productive because you have more space. And obviously, if you are in good hotels, your sleep quality is much better. This means you're more productive throughout the day. Also, those fancy restaurants help to kind of increase the team spirit. So yes, it's true that this consulting lifestyle is actually the reality, but nevertheless, you always have to keep in mind that this is not for entertainment, but it's rather to keep you productive. Nevertheless, I really like the lifestyle. So traveling around, seeing many different cities, sleeping in those hotels, going to those restaurants is pretty nice, but keep in mind that this is because of productivity. In the meanwhile, I can talk a little bit about the upcoming course. So it's the consulting preparation course. This course will be launched tomorrow, and it has one goal. And the goal of this course will be to give you all the necessary information, all the necessary skills that you need in order to prepare for your career in management consulting. And it's more or less like the essence of my experience from the past 3 years that I try to compromise in this online course. And there will be mainly 8 modules. So the first module will be about presentations and PowerPoint. So you learn all the necessary presentation skills, PowerPoint skills that you need for your first years in consulting. The second module is about Excel. So I will go through the most important Excel functions, about some advanced stuff that we typically do in consulting. And the third one is about consulting tools. So this means you will learn how to do research, how to do interviews, how certain project types work, and this will be the third module. And this is the hard skill bucket. Then we have also a soft skills bucket. This will be about organization, communication, and also like the workflow, so how you work in consulting teams. This will be the the fourth, fifth, and sixth module. And then the seventh and eighth module will be about mindset. So we will talk a little bit about what kind of mindset you need in order to be successful in consulting. And the last module will be about work-life balance in consulting, and this will be the course. Okay, and I will upload, since all of the sessions are not recorded yet, I will upload each module or those single modules throughout the next week. So tomorrow we start with uploading the presentation part and PowerPoint part, and then throughout the past next weeks we will upload the rest of the modules, and there will be a special prize. You probably noticed that through Instagram. So the prize at the end will be 500 euros. and we have a special early bird prize starting tomorrow until I uploaded all the modules for 250. Okay, so if you're interested in that, if that sounds good, if you really want to prepare for management consulting, if you want to learn all the necessary skills to be successful in your internship or in your first 1 to 2 years in consulting, then this is definitely for you. Good. In the meanwhile, we received some more questions. Can a student just entering their undergrad join? Well, you can do an internship. It will be quite difficult to start as a full-time employee. What you can do after your bachelor's degree is that you can enter as an analyst. Okay, so typically there are 2 stages. The first one is the analyst. Typically you start there as a bachelor student, or if you have your bachelor's degree, and then you typically, at least in the US, do your MBA and then become a full-time consultant, or in Germany you do a Master of Science, or in Europe in general this is a bit more common. But directly as an undergrad might be difficult. You have to have a degree at least, but nevertheless, if you go to a top school, if you have good grades, chances are pretty good that you can do a summer internship, for example. MBA recommended in Germany instead of Master of Science in Business or Finance or something like that. Well, it depends. If you do so if you start as an analyst, so if you say you want to do your bachelor first and then start as an analyst, then I would recommend, it depends, if you want to do a study in the US, I think then it's, totally makes sense to do an MBA. If you say you want to study in Europe, then, Master of Science in Finance or Management, is also very common. So I think, there is no right or wrong. It more depends on what kind of experience you want to make, So if you want to make the American experience, then it's very typical to do the MBA. If you want to study in Europe, then you can do a Master of Science and or a Master in Finance or Management. I think the only important thing here is, again, I cannot emphasize that enough, is that you go to a great university. So I would rather say, it's not, the question is not if you do an MBA, Master in Finance or Master in Management, because all of those degrees work. It's more like that you think about what you're interested in, what kind of, experience you want to have, and then go to a top school. I think this is much, much more important. And also, kind of the degree that you do. I would also say, that it isn't really important if you study management or, some more technical studies. The important thing is always that you find what you really, really like to do, because the important thing is that you go to a target university and have really, really good grades. And based on my experience, you can only do that if you study something that you really, really like to study, and that's my advice here. How to extremely stick out, not just grade-wise? Very good question. There are the typical criteria. So first of all, you have, So first of all, you have your academic background. That's the first criteria that you usually have if you want to join consulting. The second one is your practical experiences. And the third one is your extracurriculars and personality, all of that stuff. And, the most important thing is always, to, stand out with your academics, because, that's the thing that most consultancies take a look at first. But besides that, because, I knew from a very early point during my studies that, my academic background would not be my big strength. So I had a different strategy. I said, okay, I want to make sure that my grades are not a showstopper. So I really focused on having good grades, but I was never like top 1%. I was more like top 5 to top 10%, I would say. And I tried really to convince through my practical experiences, because I knew that I had, I studied music at the very, very beginning before I studied management. And I said, okay, I know how to work in teams. I really love project work. I, like practical work. I like working in teams. And that's why I focused on, doing a lot of internships, having some working student jobs. I also, joined many student consultant clubs, and really tried to, have a very impressive practical background. And even today, you know, if I compare my practical experiences that I brought with me when I joined consulting versus, you know, students that we hire at our company, I still think, you know, that my practical experiences back then and still today were much more than most other people have. And that was my strategy, you know. So I would say try to focus on the grades. You can also try to, you know, do outstanding or get outstanding practical experience, or to have outstanding extracurricular activities, like, you know, if you found a company during your studies, if you have a very cool social project, you know, if you do something that is very uncommon, that is also a strategy that you can use. Is it good to work in a student consultancy when you aim to work as a consultant, or does it not make any difference? No, it's a great idea. So to be very honest, I learned like 80%. Yeah, why not? But I learned all the basics about consulting in my time as a student consultant, because there you get PowerPoint training, you get Excel training. I personally was also in the management board of the student consulting club, so that's, you know, where I gained so much experience in doing presentations, because we had to present every week. So this was, you know, for me personally back then, one of the greatest sources to learn all the consulting skills, like working with PowerPoint, working with Excel, communicating, presenting, you know, working in teams. So for me, it was a great experience. I wouldn't say, you know, that, I mean, it definitely increases your chances, so no question. But, you know, academic background is always more important, you know, but it's certainly a plus point. And as I just explained, so for me personally, it was also like, you know, in terms of my practical experience, certainly a point that stood out compared to, you know, others, people who applied for consulting. So it's highly recommended. So I, you know, do recommend to join consulting clubs. If I'm an SAP analyst consultant, do you believe I might have some chances to switch to strategic management consulting? Yes, you do have chances, but you probably have to do an extra qualification. You know, if you want to join directly, you know, BCG, McKinsey or Bain, then you should definitely, you know, the best advice is always, you know, the easiest thing is to do an MBA, you know, because this is always, you know, this signals the company that you want to take a next step. This also gives the company a reason to you know, hire you, because you have an additional qualification. Besides that, if you don't want to do an MBA, you could try to do some extra qualification, like some online courses, online certificates. But, you know, doing an MBA or additional executive education is typically the easiest way. Good. Then next point, no question, but I wanted to say that I like your content. I lead a consulting department of a German company in Portugal and enjoy every post from you. I also tell my juniors to look out for you. Cheers. That's very, very nice. Thank you for that. That's great to hear. Always happy if people get value out of this. So this, you know, this is actually, thank you for those kind words, because, you know, this is actually, you know, what keeps me going. If I get those messages, this really motivates me, because very often, you know, besides working like 60 to 80 hours in my consulting job, and then I, you know, have to do all those content preparation on the weekend or in the morning. Sometimes I ask myself why I do it, but, you know, those questions, those comments, you know, always make me smile and give me this additional energy push. Thank you. Thank you very much for very interesting content. Thank you. That's so kind. Good. With that being said, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for all the great questions. As always, it was a pleasure to interact with you live. And don't forget, tomorrow I launch the course, the new one. If you're interested, then check out my stories. I will definitely give you a preview, talk about the content, about what you can expect. And with that being said, I wish you a very great evening. Thank you for staying with me. Hope you have a good night, and if you're in Germany or in Europe, and a good day if you are more in the West, and a good morning if you are in the East. Good. With that being said, have a nice one. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.